All right, now joining me now are three of the nation's best political analysts, editor of OpinionJournal.com, James Taranto, columnist for the New York Daily News, Michael Goodwin, and syndicated columnist Miguel Perez. And gentlemen, thanks for being with me. Let's start with what Candy was talking about. We might as well go into who's ahead and who's not. And let's talk about the New Hampshire presidential primary poll. February 1 through 5, Democratic primary voters' choice for nominee. It seems way too early for this, but let's put that up and take a look at it. We have Clinton at 35%, Obama 21%, Edwards 16%, Gore 8%, others change. Miguel.
I'm not surprised. I am surprised, however, by what the reporter was just telling us about the black vote. I am surprised that they're not supporting Obama the way I would expect them to at this point. I guess they don't know him well enough yet, but still, I mean, I would think that the first black presidential candidate who really has a shot at getting elected president is this guy. Mm-hmm. And they should be very enthused about the idea. I like what I see about Mr. Obama, and the more I get to know about him, the more I like him, and I think the African-American community will go the same way.
Mm-hmm. He is a child of the media still, perhaps, right. During the campaign.
And I think the way the Democratic field is shaping up is Hillary Clinton is clearly the front runner and going to have all the money in the world. And I think John Edwards on one hand, Obama on the other, and then the cast of thousands, I think we'll be kind of trying to chip away and find a spot and trying to make it a two-person race, one person against her, because she is unpopular in many quarters, and so therefore to try to capture the anti-Hillary vote. And I think Obama is the best person to do that because in many ways he's everything she's not. Mm-hmm. He's easier, he's more relaxed, he's open, he has that war vote that Candy Crowley mentioned. So I think he ultimately could emerge as a real threat to her.
Edwards has been pretty aggressive, though, no?
He sure has. I wanted to make a point on Obama, which is an interesting thing to watch in the Obama candidacy, has been the way that some of the so-called black leaders have said very cool things about him. I'm talking about people like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. And I think the reason is he's a threat to them, because if America elects a black president or comes close to electing a black president, if he's the nominee and he gets 48% of the vote or whatever, it becomes really hard to argue that America is a irredeemably racist country. And Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton make their livings making that argument.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. It's going to be a fascinating debate, and it's certainly one that's maybe overdue in this country. Let's talk. Bill Schneider did a big piece that we just saw on the most expensive campaign in history. What are your thoughts on the level of money that's going on, Miguel?
It's obscene. It's obscene. I mean, you know, you have to be a multimillionaire practically, or be able to raise multimillionaire money to be an elected official in this country. Not just president, but I mean, some of the senatorial races, you have the same situation.
Exactly.
Right. I think there are two things driving it this year. The one is the front loading of the primaries, which require you to raise so much money up front because you're going to have to move very quickly from New Hampshire and Iowa to New Jersey and California and places in the Midwest. So you can't wait to come out of the first states and then raise your money. You have to have it going in. And the second thing, we have to be honest, most of the money goes to television. I mean, it's a great year to own a television station because that's where the bucks come in. And I think that's where most of this money will end up.
Mm-hmm. James?
Well, we've seen just in the past couple of weeks, three candidates on the Democratic side, Mrs. Clinton, John Edwards, and Barack Obama, all say that they will not accept federal matching money, which means they can raise as much money as they want subject to federal fundraising limits. I think it'll be really interesting to see if John McCain decides not to take federal money, since he has a belief that special interest money is at the root of all evil in politics. Will he hold his campaign back to make a stand on principle?
It's his law. It's McCain-Feingold campain finance law is his law.
It may become quite an issue.
Yeah.
As long as we went through the Democrats, let's look at the Republicans. And this week, Rudy Giuliani and Mitt Romney moved a bit closer. Let's take a look at who's ahead of who. And here's our list. McCain, 28%, Giuliani, 27%, Romney, 13%, Gingrich, 9%, and the rest. Miguel.
I'm not worried as long as Mr. Romney stays third. I'm okay. I think the guy is a hypocrite. I've said it in my column many times. He's against illegal immigrants, but he has them mowing his lawn. So, the other two guys are kind of moderate, and I'm all for that.
No, we know where he stands. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think all along it looks like a Giuliani-McCain race with many of the others perhaps running for vice president on the ticket. So right now, those two are out in front. They seem to switch positions, first and second. So I don't see anyone coming up and challenging them for the dominance of the party.
Well, I believe that poll you showed was from New Hampshire, not nationwide.
Excuse me, let me look. I just want to make sure. I think it is.
And
Yeah,
most of the
you're right.
nationwide polls actually have Giuliani in front. I think he really has to be viewed as the front runner at this point. I don't see how you can call McCain the front runner when he perennially finishes second in the polls. And, they say Giuliani's going to have trouble among the religious right, and that may be true. But I was with the chairman of the the Republican Party of Michigan a few weeks ago, and he was saying he had Giuliani in for a dinner. Giuliani gave a talk, and he explained his position on abortion and gay rights. And a couple of people in the audience, big shot Republican evangelical Christians from Michigan, got up and said, "I don't agree with you, but I'm going to support you. I was satisfied with your answer." So I think Giuliani's weaknesses may be less than people think they are.
All right. Let's take a break because we'll get into some other very interesting stuff in just a minute. So we'll have more with our panel after this quick break, including what White House advisor Karl Rove had to say about illegal immigration and what he doesn't want his son doing. Interesting comment. And Heroes, our tribute to the men and women in uniform. Tonight we meet a former Green Beret who distinguished himself in combat against the Taliban. Stay with us.
We'll be right back after these important messages.
Hey guys, you know that extremely important holiday Valentine's Day is right around the corner. And you know what comes right after Valentine's Day? Valentine's night. I hope you're not thinking about giving her the same old. Don't panic. Here are 3 words you need to remember. Vermont teddy bear. Picture this. You beargram her at home or the office with one of the many love bears. The heartthrob bear in boxers, the lover boy bear with the love tattoo on his arm, or how about the mysterious love bandit? And when it arrives, well, you can almost hear it now.
What is this?
He is so adorable. So much bigger than I thought.
No.
I could just kiss it and kiss it.
Oh, I sent you this love bandit to steal your heart because you've stolen mine. Love, Jim.
Where can I get a guy like that?
Guys, if you want a great response to your Valentine's Day gift, call now or do it online at VermontTeddyBear.com. Come on, guys, for about the price of a dozen roses, a Vermont teddy bear keeps giving and giving. Just call, and a friendly bear counselor will help you choose an authentic Vermont teddy bear, one that's perfect for your Valentine. They're handmade in Vermont and guaranteed for life. And her beargram comes with free chocolate and personalized gift card. She's going to love you for it. Take it from me, this is not your average bear.
I can't wait to give him my surprise.
Right now is a great time to take care of your sweetheart for Valentine's Day. Call or shop online at VermontTeddyBear.com. Order now and have a Vermont teddy bear delivered to her home or office right on Valentine's Day. It's a sure thing.
All right, we're back with our panel, Michael Goodwin, Miguel Perez, and James Toronto. Gentlemen, we were right in the middle of the campaign season. Iraq has to be a huge issue for this.
Right.
Miguel.
Well, it's how it affects the presidential race in 2008. Mr. McCain having encouraged a surge, and now the president going along with that. Partly because I think Mr. McCain wanted an overwhelming force, but it might help Mr. McCain more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm. And I think we saw in 2006 that the war is a real liability for Republicans everywhere. And so I think unless absent a real change in America's favor in Iraq, I think that Iraq will be a burden for the Republican nominee, and how they handle it now will show up in commercials later on and everything. So right now I'd have to say Iraq favors the Democratic nominee because the war has gone so badly and America is so turned against the war.
If George W. Bush were running for re-election, I would agree with Michael. I would say he's in trouble. I don't think it's that clear that it hurts the Republican nominee, because the Republican nominee is not going to be Bush, and the Democratic nominee is very likely to be somebody who has not shown any capacity for leadership. I'm thinking about Hillary Clinton and John Edwards. Edwards, who both voted for the war, made very strong statements in support of it, and changed their views with public opinion. I think the American people, when they elect a president, they want somebody who's capable of leading, not somebody who's going to follow them wherever the mass of the public is going.
But I think if you look at 206 as a model at all, it is that Democrats didn't stand for anything in 206 either, and yet they won the Congress simply by disgust against the Republicans and against Bush. If that pattern holds, no Republican can win.
But it's one thing to elect a congressman. It's another thing to elect the leader of the country, the commander-in-chief.
Let's talk about what happened in the Senate. I mean, it blocked a non-binding resolution. Let's listen to what Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had to say about the impasse here.
Intelligence relating to the
All right. We don't seem to have that. The American people are not happy with the current status of the Iraq war. Republican senators are not happy about it. What to do about it creates differences of opinion, and there are dramatic and different opinions among Democrats about what ought to be done at this point. Nobody's happy about the state of Iraq right now, and the Senate will be engaged in this debate for the very near future. And yet, there was an impasse. We're going into 36 hours of debate in the House. What is Congress, what are we going to say?
It will hurt the Democrats in the presidential race if they keep acting like the Ringling brothers in Congress. And that's what's been happening over the last week or so. Of course, I agree that if George Bush was running, he would not be reelected. But if the Democrats keep acting like clowns, I mean, they have to take a position. They can't, they're divided now. They don't know what it is. They're proposing non-binding resolutions. If they're really that much against the war, propose real legislation and let's deal with it. Let's cut the funding. Do something, not just like,
Look, I think the Republicans very skillfully used the Senate rules and tried to force the Democrats to take a vote on, do you support the troops effectively? I think that the Democrats should have taken that gamble. They should have voted on every resolution the Republicans wanted to put forth, as well as the bipartisan ones. I think they were cowards not to vote. And I think the people in the end will respect you for your position, but take one. And I think that not voting was a mistake for the Democrats.
And yet we're stuck with this impasse.
I think my fellow panelists here are a little too hard on the Democrats. I mean, not that they don't deserve it, but I think this is really an institutional problem. The Senate is not a place where leadership arises. It's a body that works on consensus, that requires supermajorities to do just about anything. There's a reason senators are hardly ever elected president.
All right. There's an issue, which that's very near and dear to the heart of this show, and that's immigration. And we have a comment from Karl Rove, and I wanted to bring up something that Karl Rove said the other day on the subject of illegal immigration. And Rove said, "I don't want my 17-year-old son to have to pick tomatoes or make beds in Las Vegas." Now, Rove's office confirms that he made the remark, but he says they're being taken out of context. And a senior administration official said that Rove was trying to make the point that low wages and low-skilled jobs are vacant and causing hardships for business owners.
I don't think that's the point he was trying to make. He was basically trying to say, look, the illegal immigrants are doing the jobs that Americans don't want. I don't see why everybody's offended over this, or some people are offended over this, because in fact that's reality. They are doing the jobs that many Americans don't want. And the specific quote that he gave, my God, my grandmother picked tomatoes when she came from Cuba, and my mother made beds in Miami Beach Hotel. So it really hit home. And we were legal residents. So legal or illegal, immigrants do the jobs that Americans don't want to do. It really brought it home for me, that quote, because it reminded me of my own mother and grandmother.
It's a very personal quote because it brought in his family and the whole thing.
Right, and I think most parents think that way. I mean, they think about their own children, and I think it's actually, in a way, interesting that he would apply that test to his own family and come out with that answer. I don't find it offensive either.
I do find it offensive because it suggests that this kind of work is unworthy, that, Rove's son is too good to do this sort of work. I think that's the sort of thing a politician shouldn't say, and nobody should say. But I also think, first,
do you have children?
No. The one thing I will say...
Shouldn't teenagers start in the mailroom?
Of course.
If I had a child and he wanted to make beds in hotels, fine, if that's what he wants to do. But I also, first of all, the one thing I'll say in Grove's defense, at least he didn't say it was a botched joke. Second, I think what he's saying doesn't make sense. I mean, it's a non sequitur. If we don't have comprehensive immigration reform, his son isn't going to do these jobs. Illegal immigrants are going to do these jobs instead of legal immigrants.
Except for me, it was the other way around. It was my grandmother and my mother who sacrificed so that I could study and so that I could be here tonight.
Right, and that's the great American dream.
What an incendiary comment, because it generated such discussion. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here. Michael Goodwin, Miguel Perez, and James Toronto. Thank you.